In the monastery of your heart, you have a temple where all Buddhas unite. Milarepa, one of the most famous Tibetan yogis and spiritual poets' words, sum up this beautiful summit that we've all gathered for and its intention to rejuvenate, where we all have united from various parts of the world and hope to be united by our hearts. Welcome to a very special The Positivity Project Presents Rejuvenate session. Our guest today is Her Excellency Thrinlay Chodon, Buddhist teacher and yogini. A female Buddhist teacher, Khandro-la, as she's lovingly called, comes from a family of ancient yogis and yoginis from the mystical Himalayan mountain place of Lahore in India. Trained in the practices of Vajrayana Buddhism from a very early age, she grew up in an environment where spirituality was part of everyday life. Side by side, she also received a complete education going on to study Western psychology and comparative religion in the United States. She now teaches and shares the wisdom of this ancient yogic tradition and its relevance in modern day life, which we also need. One of her passionate pursuits is supporting the training of women in spiritual practice. Khandro-la is devoted to bringing alive the wisdom and compassion of her ancient tradition in our modern everyday life. She is the embodiment of warmth and humanness. As she's lovingly called Khandro-la, I'd like to welcome you. The session is about transcending suffering. Khandro-la, I welcome you to the show, to the summit, and gracing us with your presence. And we're waiting to hear your beautiful words and all the wisdom that we can gather in this 1 hour. Thank you for joining us from Perth, Australia. And there are so many people from around the world, actually, who are joining us to hear you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Safia. And I really want to say thank you to Sangeeta and her beautiful mandala of women. So really very important time in our history that you have made us all gather, all these great masters and great thinkers of our time. It's a beautiful forum in which I'm able to participate, even though I have no knowledge. I will share myself because you are just beautiful women. So yeah, good afternoon from Australia, Perth, and namaste. So I was thinking I have a kind of condensed my talk about this very important topic. So I'll just read that and then I would like to go into it in a more traditional way. So in this time of worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, when external distractions of travel and affluence are less, we are directly faced with our own discontented mind. This suffering mind erupts with different phases such as insecurity, anxiety, loss, anger, fear, pain, and stagnation. Now is a time to make peace with ourselves, to loosen the grip of self-cherishing mind and joyfully expand our love and compassion, even these worst of circumstances. So feeling that very deeply over these years, all of us together collectively experiencing a very tumultuous time. And I feel that, today I was feeling so beautiful to connect to Annie Chuing's voice, and then all these beautiful dancers and amazing presenters. And then I saw Bodh Gaya, of all the place, my favorite place, and from here in Australia, and it's just amazing. So I thought I must start with the words of Lord Buddha himself, the awakened one. So when I was a little girl, all my parents always used to transmit all these words, So I will say that in our own language, and then I'll translate it from my mind, okay? So I'll start with that, and then I will go into the depth of our talk. So if you can fold your hand at the heart and feel this abundance, love, and compassion inherent within ourselves. Boundless love, boundless compassion, boundless joy, boundless equanimity. It's our birthright. And it's time to connect in this tumultuous time. So from Bodh Gaya, under that Bodhi tree, 2,500 years ago, Buddha Shakyamuni, the awakened one, sat under the Bodhi tree on the Vajra seat. And then he exclaimed, Sabshi Todel Wesel Dumaje, Duzi Tabi Chushik Tagi Nye, Sula Tenjang Gor Min Yurwe, Mima Naktab Nidu Nebarsha. I just love it. So I try to translate it, okay, in my mind. There are a lot of translation, but I just love spontaneous. Zab means deep, Ji peaceful, Todel unfabricated. Sabshi Todel Wesel is radiant clarity or luminous, Dumaje, uncompounded, simple, dharma, truth, I have found. And whoever I explain, it's not going to be understood. Yet no one would understand. So I shall remain silent under the tree. So for 49 days, this simple truth, Buddha contained it, held it, and move it in his entire essence, so the whole world is blessed with silence. And even the earth shook after 49 days, and all the heavenly gods came realm, with everything material they had, but they came down and asked Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma, which is totally inexpressible. This truth is beyond our ordinary thinking mind or grasping mind or conceptual mind. So therefore, when Buddha taught this truth, he had to be silent. And in order to bring that life, the earth, Mother Earth had to witness, and all the heavenly God realms had to come. And finally, somehow with his compassionate heart, he began to find words. And the first teachings that he delivered were that of suffering. So Buddha Shakyamuni, it is my own personal way of understanding it, when we're talking about suffering. So suffering, when we're talking of suffering, I was looking in this dictionary and it says loss, pain, distress, injury, and something like that. But it doesn't fulfill the full aspect of what suffering is. Because Buddha Shakyamuni had all the comforts. He was Siddhartha, the prince, son of King Shuddhodana and Maya Devi, and everything comfortable. Nowadays, I feel myself living in Australia, just go out, everything looks perfect. So even though he had all this perfect comfort, something was missing, And when I'm here in Australia, I miss India so much, even the dust and everything, because, there's something about India. There's something about our land, it is because our great masters, who chose India to be born, or Nepal, and all this at this time, you feel that those are dirty and, inorganic and dirty places. Once I took a group of people to Yangleshwar, and then the Westerners, a group of Westerners, and they're saying, oh, so much plastics, it's so dirty. I said, listen, please, let's meditate on the plastic. Who made these plastics? So then we all started to meditate, and I feel that the Aboriginal people, our traditional people who don't look so clean from outside, they're not the ones who made plastics. That we, in the McDonald's, that how much plastics they wrap things with. So in that way, Ata Buddha Shakyamuni was a very sensible person, and he knew that he's wrapped in plastic truth. So therefore, he went in search. Even his parents avoided him to get out of the comfort zone into the suffering world because they want him to be a universal monarch. But still, his discontentment, something was missing. He went in search, and that drive, the force, I think somewhere inside we all have that, this driving force to know this is something beyond what our appearance. So then Buddha Shakyamuni left, and his chariot, the jana, and all these stories I don't have to repeat. But then the dukkha, or we call in Tibetan, we call it dungel. So in the Lalita Vistra Sutra, it says that when the suffering is the pain that accompanies birth, growing old, falling sick, and dying. So this is the turning point where Buddha Shakyamuni met those aspects of our life, of our physical existence, that he didn't have to connect to that kind of a truth because he was blessed with everything outwardly. But when he connected to this pain or this suffering, then he realized that we are impermanent. We are not happy forever people. So therefore he connected to the other's pain or suffering, and then he connected to his own wealth of compassion and love. And then he found the truth, a universal truth, which applies to all of us in this moment in time when we are engulfed in so much kind of uncertainty. And as I said before, fear, the stagnation. I meet every single day here in Australia, perfect place, but so much pain, so much suffering, and being in that spiritual mode. Everyone never tells their good things. They always share all the painful things. So anyway, so I was thinking that, just if you can sit with that for a moment and feel that this simplicity of who we really are and how complex we have become, in this time. Look at the material resources are coming to an end. Look at our planet. Look at the global warming. Recently, here in Perth, just a few months ago, there was so much storm. The whole Perth was shaking, and this is our home here, and the roofs have all collapsed right now. Okay, the other rooms. So I decided to come here and bless, and then we have to struggle with the insurance company and so on. So in that way, the physical, the truth the comfort is not ever yours. So therefore, I think we need to connect to love and compassion. So great master Shanti Deva said, all the joy this world contains come from wishing. I love this because I like to put my hand. Wishing means connecting. As you say, rejuvenation, reconnecting, re-establishing, so wishing happiness for others. When you wish happiness for others, abundance come back to you, just overflows. And all the suffering that this world contains come from wanting. Wanting is like grasping, happiness for oneself. The winner mentality is such a poverty mentality that we are so stuck in that. And this self-cherishing mind, this concept of the truth of who I am is so permanent, is so real. This is appearance. This body is only 10% of you. When you look at ourselves, even in the physical world, when we speak to each other, you can't see our speech. And the speech is also part of you. And then the mind, the Buddha talks about the mind. So his whole teaching evolves or revolves around mind, like a hub, like a wheel, with the axis, that all phenomena revolves around this. Everything is mind-made, Shantideva said, and can be unmade by the mind. So this mind is so important that when we able to understand the truth, the potential, the beauty, the wealth of our mind, then everything else, the suffering, just melt away. Because we are so precious. We are a piece of magic on this planet. I really believe. And I really believe that we are human beings have so much potential to lay positive imprints. Since we are talking about positive imprints on this planet. And recently, one of my students, Sam, and he was doing this research about the death, when people die here, then they put us in a coffin and then like an oven, we are kind of baked. So when we do that, so much carbon emission happens that we lay, even when we die, we are not aware, even when we die, we are leaving physically negative imprints, carbon imprints on this planet, even this physical body. And when I think about my great masters, when they die, they just die with such dignity. They are fearless. And I was very fortunate to serve His Holiness Shabdung Rinpoche, my husband, at his deathbed. And I was like, he was fearless, even though he had cancer. And for me, that was one of the greatest teaching that really connected. So I feel just like Buddha Shakyamuni, we need to see the impermanence. And when we see impermanence, death, suffering, like in this time and at this time in our history, we are experiencing endless death. With COVID, just open the TV and you see. So what do we do? Only we can connect to our compassion and love. And through that, we can send love, lot of blessings. Because inherently, we are Buddha. But due to our ignorance, we are not able to see who we really are. And we are so stuck in a mire of sensorial pleasures. And we think that pleasure is everything. But in pleasure, there is so much pain. And recently, I was just walking with my dog, and then there was one lady, and she said, "Oh, she's just a person I never knew." And she said, "I'm very happy today." I said, "What happened?" She said, "My grandmother died." I said, "Why should you be happy?" And she said, "That's because, I got all the love." And she is a single mother from the grandmother, but the rest of the family who never ever came for 20 years, they're all coming for the estate. And I am going to run away because let them sort it out. I don't want anything from her because I got everything. I thought that was so insightful and so beautiful. So I feel that in the essence, so I would make a little, I want to keep it short because Sophia has questions to ask, and I'm going to make a little prayer. Okay. And then Sophia, you can think about the questions. All right. So I will make a prayer from Choje Gampopa, who was one of the great masters, a student of Milarepa. And my lineage is very connected to Milarepa. So therefore, I would like to make that aspiration, as we say, everything is mind-made. So how we aspire really, creates the momentum. So taso semjen tham chegi lo chusundo or jingi love this. Che lamdundo or jingi love this. Lam tuba se or jingi love this. Tuba yishizucha or jingi love this. Taso semjen tham means may all sentient beings, mother sentient beings. Their law means this dualistic mind, this grasping mind, this monkey mind. Chuzo, may it turn to Dharma. And the Dharma, be focused on the path. Lam means on the path, there will be obstacles. Today you had obstacles of the computer system. So they made it obstacles to be dawn as wisdom. I just love it. These words are so profound. So all these obstacles, when we have the right intention, naturally it will dawn as wisdom. It will not become obstacle anymore. We have to have obstacles anyway, because we are in the karmic body. So people like His Holiness Dalai Lama and great enlightened beings, they appear to have obstacles, they're just pretending, because they are enlightened beings, but they have come on this planet for us. So their obstacles, they know what to do with their obstacles. But because of our delusion, we think that they are having obstacles. Actually, they are not. They are just processing all of us. So in that way, so I want to make this prayer for you, and I will chant a mantra. Daya da gate gate paragate parasam gate Bodhi Swaha Dayanam Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha Om Tare Tu Re Swaha. So let everything melt into love, compassion, joy, abundance. And if you can rest 1 minute, let everything shift, open, clear, expand. Okay, I'm ready for your questions. Don't attack me like Westerners.
Not at all. Milarepa's words, your words, your wisdom in this short time that you've been able to, give us clarity and, expand our hearts. That's all we need to expand our hearts and to go deeper. Khandro-la, I was reading when I was given this topic of transcending suffering to discuss with you. I went into the dictionary meaning of suffering. That is defined as an unpleasant or even anguishing experience, right? It affects us at a psychophysical and existential level. Pain and suffering is considered unpleasant. And it comes in all forms and shapes in our modern life. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be a heartbreak. It could be dealing with physical or mental illness. It could be things going awry or having gone through a physical trauma. How do you deal with the everyday suffering that we feel is suffering? Like you said, the great masters transcended it by letting it come to them and, just like you put your hands like that, and it felt like you're sending love and compassion our way. Can I say that it's easier said than done?
Right.
How do you give us a mantra, give us a practice that we can do every day, something that we can go back to and hold on to every day to be able to, be full in ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. When we have this kind of a not good enough kind of a mentality, a poverty mentality, which is really connected to, it's really counterintuitive, because we hold on because of fear, we hold on to things. You got my point?
Yeah.
We hold on and we feel that there's something to gain from that. But the moment actually, the more you loosen yourself, and you don't think only spiritual great masters we have every single day, we have that ability to just connect and rejuvenate. I like this word, rejuvenate, or recharge. And we don't stop. I've seen that I'm just staying with some people here in the West, and they just don't stop. Hey, come on, stop, I have to say. And then they stop and they take a deep breath, as simple as that. Take a deep breath. It's all for free. We don't even have to pay for it. Just try that, just simple. And of course, in the Buddhist teachings, we have layers and layers of way of untangling ourselves, because we are talking, it's very claustrophobic when it comes to Western psychology, because they only think of one lifetime. So when you think of one lifetime, the only way is to blame. You understand? Because, oh, my father did this, my mother did that, this and that, endless blame. And that's not going to make you happy, because we are disconnected thing from our parents by blaming them. But this recently I've been doing teachings on karma, and I have been I'm in the Western world, okay? So I'm doing these teachings where I am studying the history. I said, let's study the history of her. You can't understand karma unless you understand your history. So look at the crusade, look at all these things in the Western world that happened, that people, and if Australia is a stolen country, you know, so there's a lot of guilt and fear kind of stuck in the mind. So but when we expand, I'll say to Sam, okay, Sam, I think you are so connected to us, and we are, you know, in the same house, under the same, with my brother and all family. I wonder why you're feeling so much family with us. Maybe last life you must have been, you're not feeling connected to your parents, but you're feeling connected to us. So yeah, they go and they start to expand. And when you blame your parents and all of that, look at the history. They had to leave, you know, Europe and come here and then start all over. And the parents had to undergo so many wars and crusades and grandparents and so on and on, you know. So that way, much easier to, you know, if we expand ourselves, then there's forgiveness comes naturally. And when you think that we are impermanent, love comes naturally. Husband and wife struggling there day and night fighting. Okay, you are impermanent. Tomorrow you may die. Oh, okay. Yeah. So then love will come, ooze out of you, because you know this is not a permanent thing between us. It'll fade away. And this teaching, I love it, because for me, my life has been full of impermanence. Father died at the age of 7, and mother died at the age of 19. Husband died at the age of 48. You know, I was only 37. So and suddenly I realized I have to accept this, you know, and from there only I will be able to live. Why am I, you know, beating myself up? So suddenly I feel liberated because of teachings and all the enlightened beings teaching, because every moment there's a liberation, but we don't look at it. I'm a normal person. Don't think I'm some high lama on the throne. I'm just a normal person. These Buddhist people put these things around, you know, because they want to represent, you know, feminine respect. So I'm just gone like normal life, family, went to normal school, and not like I studied for centuries, all the philosophy. I did not. But I begin to get interested in that because I heard as a child, and it's making sense. My life is changing with the blessings. I studied because it is making a difference in my understanding, in my view.
That's a good way to look at it. My next question emanates from what you said. We're in our karmic body. We're in our karma right now, what we need to go through in this world at this time. There's also, Khandro-la, there's a lot of deep conditioning of wanting to stay in that state of ego, of what we call the ego, what you call the I, right? And you mentioned, you know, the time right now is uncertain. You know, we're going through, you know, many countries are going through conflict. People have had to leave their homes. You know, how do you tell someone to transcend suffering or smile in the face of suffering, where we're suffering? A child is suffering, or an older person is, you know, in the worldly way suffering, where they're seeing uncertainty or fear of losing their, you know, their place, their home. How do you transcend that, and how do you smile then?
You know what? Like I love this. When we think about karma, it is really liberating. I tell you. There's this story of great master Pavakatyanka. I think I don't know name very well. Okay, I love this story as a child. I heard Pasha Saching Maladek. Wait a minute. So there was this great master, and he, well, it's just like all of us. He was feeling so sad. We are all trapped, man. We just cannot get out of it. It's a vicious circle. But he had so much compassion. He couldn't even smile because, you know, he felt that, you know, we're so miserable. People are not understanding the truth. And then one day, all his students were great master, and he was walking with his students. And on the way, I'm sure it must be India, because in Tibet, they never eat, what do you call, fish. So there's this guy, you know, he's eating a fish, savoring, is it called savoring in English? Savoring a fish, and like really, and then he's holding a little baby so close as a pakadke, so tight. And then there's a little dog, bitch coming to grab on the bones that he's throwing. Then the great master is passing by and he just falls, on the floor, laughing. Oh my goodness, great master, what's this? And we never saw you laughing. How come you're laughing today? He's saying it's so because he has transcended the karmic body, he can see through people's lives. He's saying, I'm looking at this guy and he doesn't know, he's so ignorant. He's eating that fish was his mother. Pasha searching. It sounds very good in Tibetan, eating the father and beating that was mother, the dog, and holding the child, which is his biggest enemy in past life.
Oh,
You get my point? Pasha
yes.
searching, Maladek, Lencha Tao means like this past life's terrible, like a enemy he's holding as if it's his. What? Who knows who is ours, We are not ours. How can you say this is mine and that is mine? This body which carry every single day, this is not even ours. So how can we say, oh, my child, and then you hold on to the child and the child? I've seen so many women in India that their children are torturing them like anything, drugs and all of this, and they're suffering and trying to make changes. But who knows? You get my point?
Yes. That's
when we untangle our mind like this, all you can do is think and clear your mind, because we are so trapped.
Yeah. And then nothing is what I hear you saying is one is impermanence, and the other part is that nothing belongs to us. It's not the I. We associate and want to associate everything with the I, but it actually doesn't.
But then, Safia, it doesn't mean that you don't enjoy. That beautiful earrings belongs to you. You look gorgeous. Enjoy that. But when it is broken, let go.
Yes.
Then you have this kind of a free attitude to what you are belonging, Otherwise, you are so stuck and you're holding on. And that is where the pain comes from. I think so. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is something, it's a lesson that we wanted to hear from your mouth. And I think repeatedly when we hear this is when we will internalize that nothing belongs to us. I don't belong to anybody. And life is impermanent. So when they say live in the moment, what does it mean to live in the moment? What is, suffering is about perception and interpretation, right? How you interpret an event, how you interpret others' words. It's about how you perceive it. Then how do you stay in the moment?
Stay in the moment is so easy. Because like this moment that, like we are in this moment, and then moment you tangle yourself with the past and in the future, the concept of time begins to, trap you.
Yeah.
The moment you release the past and the future, and then you're, in even the present moment, according to teachings, I said, that is also not the right place, better than nothing. So you release. Because the point is, the moment you put your thoughts and in all this story starts to, kind of create in your mind, then they trap you here, trap you there, and you are being pulled apart, and you cannot be yourself. I think so. Okay.
I like
that's why all the meditators says, be in the moment, be present. That's the first, but that doesn't mean that's the only teachings. It goes expands. But in the glimpse of that is being present. I've seen in the West, people are so fast going. The moment I say, take a deep breath, instantly their face starts to, change. Their expressions change. And they have this beautiful smile. Isn't that a good way to be?
Yes.
But if you are more and more in moment, then everything that comes will start to, be more porous, more malleable, more expansive. Because we tighten ourselves.
How do you, like you just said, tighten ourselves? Is that the reason for this unpleasant or undesirable experience? We don't want to actually have an unpleasant and undesirable experience. So we avoid, what we say is avoid a lot of feelings. We avoid a lot of people. We avoid a lot of, you know, to be
And
able to transcend suffering, you need to have that courage to sort of not avoid. How do
yeah,
you not avoid?
yeah. So when you like, we have a very unpleasant person in front of you. One way is to just run away from that person. Another way is to be. And nobody is really terrible, I tell you.
Hmm.
You know. But if you have this like compassion mind and stay with them without reaction, neither repressing and just being present and just like offer a smile, and
Wow,
you'll see
just
that
offer
person
us.
melts, definitely melts. The fear, our own fear is the one, and that kind of projects to the other person, and the other person become all more tightened, and then too tight, like stones are banging against each other. But if you start to loosen and react, the reaction is, you know that's big problem here in the West. I've seen that people, there's couples and all the women also earning, men are earning, and they both have an ego, and then so suddenly, like they have no patience anymore with each other, and so many divorces in front of my eyes, so many. Oh, they married so happily in love, and all these things, and suddenly they hate each other. And that's
Hmm.
because there's no, and you from India, so your parents and all, they have so much patience
Yes.
with each other. It's not pleasant. They're pleasant, they're unpleasant, and we have to accept the pleasant, because unpleasant will also is part of it. We have to accept the unpleasant, and we have to keep going. At least the children, they love their parents to be together. And here,
Hmm.
that aspect is completely gone because of materialism, I feel, because of egocentric, because of you know with materialism comes a whole package of discontentment.
Yes.
You don't have a comfortable house, and suddenly you want this car, and this is the insatiable desires, and this is the human realm is a desire realm. According to the Buddhist teaching, it is the most, our biggest weakness is desire. And so now you look, all of us, we are trapped in desire, trapped. You want one car and the other, and then the families gets disconnected, and dissatisfied, and the son wants the car, and all these branded things I want, and it's never ending.
Hmm. So that brings me to a question of a very, widely used word that we all hear is detachment. Don't attach only. You're attached to your parents or your loved ones or your, partners or your child even, and to worldly things like the home, the car, and we've talked about it a little bit. But what is detachment then? Does detachment help in transcending suffering?
I don't like the word detachment. What's it?
Hmm.
What is detachment? We have to have some kind of a mere kind of attachment in love.
Yes.
We have to have a string, no? We can't become so stupid that you are detached. And I've seen some people from the West detached. They come to India and become sadhus, and then they lose their home also. And they think, oh, sadhus are so happy. I don't think so. We become stupid. I call that stupid. You have to have some kind of attachment, but the flowing kind of attachment.
Yeah. So what is
Acceptance.
flowing kind of attachment? How do you
Like,
define that?
no, you this impermanent is really good.
Hmm.
Because you look at your wife and you say, think that, and look at yourself also, you are impermanent. You get so attached to the self, and this self, these five aggregates, nothing is permanent. Look at your form, it's impermanent every single day. Oh, so many gray hairs have come mine. Last time one of my gurus said that, oh, you have wrinkles now. Yeah, so all these things are part of us, no, physically or feeling. Every moment, morning to night, how many times our feelings are changing, perceptions are changing. All these five aggregates, nothing is permanent, but we are contained in this beautiful body, and we have to love ourselves in such a way that we also know that one fine day we have to say goodbye to this body, and we should be okay to that. And one of my teachers says okayness. I like this, okayness. Send okayness
Okay.
to yourself.
Oh, I like that word. I learned something new. Okayness.
I think it's Sonyi Rinpoche or some my Dharma brother. some okay. I think in this is chaotic world, you need some easy words,
Yes.
So it's being okay to yourself. It's okay, You're beautiful anyway. Yeah. When I was in India, I have Himalayan Tibetan face, and with all Indian beautiful girls like yourself, all big, big eyes. I go, oh, your eyes, can you see your eyes are so small? And then I feel so sad. I go into the bathroom and try to stretch my eyes like that. I'm just saying, because then you feel incomplete, But then you said send okayness. And I have my niece here, and she goes, oh, I don't like, she has beautiful black hair. She says, I don't like my black hair. I said, why? I want yellow hair. I said, why? Because all my friends have, and I need to have that too. You can't change that, So how can you change? So you just send okayness. Love yourself.
That's a beautiful word. Love yourself, okayness, and to teach it young. So I wanted to ask this particular thing. We talk to grown-ups, we talk to adults saying, suffering is this and that. How do you explain it to a child? How do you prepare a child for the world that she is going to live, the human realm that she is going to experience? And how do you prepare a child for suffering?
This is one of my best hobby, to work with children. I have so many little children around me in Himachal, all these, little girls, and my own niece here. I have been spending time. So I just like, I'm not good enough. Because of materialism, I feel that this not good enough thing comes in. Because you see in the TV, everything looks perfect. We don't have this. So it's all fake.
Yeah.
So then I try to explain to them that, fakeness of things, and, and then we do mantra and omahung, and we make them jump up and down and play with them. And slowly they seem to release and loosen up. And then I just make them rest, and they go, wow, that was really nice. Because they come from school so tense with a whole load of books, and then they come home, and then they have to do homework, and then they go, in school this happened, the teacher said you're not good enough, and then my friend said you're not good looking, your nose are flat, your eyes are small. So what do? So parents need to spend time with the kids and help them to be okay. And we are not spending time with kids enough. And then this builds up, and one fine day they feel terrible. They're not worthy. The worthlessness is a very terrible thing, huh?
Worthlessness is a terrible thing. And I sorry, I interrupted you, but I wanted to stay on the topic of the parent and child. The parent has probably suffered and is conditioned to believe that suffering, or, the life is supposed to be like this. So he or she also sets that expectation, because we are all victims of victims, right?
Right.
So how do you then connect at the child's level to make them see the real joy and beauty in the world?
I think we have gone through a phase of materialism, and now people are really feeling it's not worthwhile. And many parents really want children to have meditation.
Yes.
Recently, we have a whole Buddhist community, and they're saying we really need to teach children, but we need to be softly. We can't teach them rituals and bombard them with a Buddhist philosophy. So can we teach something that can loosen them up from school and I have 2 kids there in the lawn right now. I made them lawn. What was it, Sam? Mow the lawn. And he's loving it. Pura din he's on the computer, So now there's a break time. And let me introduce Sam. Sam and a couple of people are here. And Sam is, we've been mowing the lawn. And then Sam was helping me to help with this whole thing. And then, And then I said, Sam, the mother parents, they're working so hard. They are Buddhist. I'm staying with the Buddhist family because our house ceiling dropped, because of the wind. So then I'm staying with the Buddhist family. Mamaji, come here. So there's this little girl, you see, this is Mamaji. And she when I'm so look there, okay, this is Mamaji. I'm to send them there to be quiet. So I spend a lot of time with these children, and then the parents are busy. I said today I'll take them, and then they have to mow the lawn. because it's all grown up, and we have a very nice meal there. Where's your brother? And he's really enjoying it. Otherwise, he would be, and his parents said, take our Khandro. And these are so beautiful things we need to connect. And these
Yes.
boys, they love, no, to mow the lawns and all. And
Yes.
the girl is playing with the dog hour, and she wanted to come and be with me, didn't you, Mama? Yeah.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah. So then, I just told them, this is Kendra.
Kendra?
He just mowed the lawns. Otherwise, he'd be stuck in the house and be the computer. And I borrowed his thing, this one. He was on this and talking to some people. I said, today is your day off. Let's come. And, you just have to be quiet and mow the lawns. And he stopped mowing the lawns because I have a talk. So in that way, I think we can loosen up kids by being in touch with nature, we're all going camping very soon.
Yeah, being in touch with nature is a great way.
So important. And slowly, then you can teach them compassion and deepen things. No, but people are so stuck in school walls and the teachers and command and demand. So we have in Manali, in my home, we have all kids, and we have a lot of fun. I don't have my own children, which I never wanted. So I have lots of kids, which I really enjoy.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing to think that even if you don't have your own children, you're there to give love and impart wisdom to so many children. You're impacting their lives. So I think that's a great way to look at life as well, to be able to impart.
When you listen to that story of the father, and who knows this, I've seen my friends suffering with their kids, so I'm so happy. On purpose, I didn't want children. Okay, it's not like I just didn't want. We had so many monks to take care, and like all these kids come from very remote areas and nuns, and I just love and I don't have this lifetime responsibility.
Khandro-la, a few minutes left with you. I want to ask you, is there a message for the women in this world? Oh, hi. I think animals and children bring us closer.
We are doing a lot of life release. They are so beautiful. And we have a bird as well. Okay. So what is the question? And I think children need animals nowadays in this busy world. And they really connect.
Yes. That's and that's a way to build kindness and compassion, I think, in children.
Absolutely.
I was asking you, is there a message for the women in this world? You work very, very closely with women and want to impact their lives spiritually. Is there something for women that you have, especially in the context of transcending suffering? I think women suffer a lot with worthlessness, with not believing in themselves, and and that's where their suffering comes from. What do you think? What would you say to them?
I think just women are so gorgeous. They're so pure. Like if you connect to their womenness, the essence of womanhood, that nurturing, mother, loving, we just naturally have it. So what I would say is just connect. Don't try to be a man. Just don't pretend. Just be happy with being a woman. Just like, just being. Don't try to be anything, just be woman. And you don't have to have children. You can just love yourself and love the things around and just being woman. I think you can achieve a lot. This is my personal experience. Well, before I was studying in America and I was like, oh, feminism. I was so angry with men in India. I had gone through lots of this thing. And then one day I realized my guru taught me to be in touch with your divine feminine. And why am I being touched with this kind of vicious woman I am in? So I decided to practice a lot of Tara. We have this side in us, we just like because of our inhibitions and, so it's not because of not valid reasons, but in the end of the day, we end up being worse than what we were. So might as well stay in who you really are. And this is my own experience I'm talking about, I'm not talking from some text or something. And when you look Buddha Shakyamuni, he was so feminine. He was so sensitive. When his brother Devdatta was killing this animal, the bird, and he was protecting, he had so much love. There was a feminine. It doesn't mean you have a male body and then you have to be macho. Buddha Shakyamuni, through his sensitivity, he got enlightened. I believe that.
Through his sensitivity, he got enlightened. Wow.
He was sensitive to all the, all the poor people and, and all of that. He had perfect. Everything was perfect for him, karmically. So when you see, I love this, the Prajnaparamitra Sutra says that, transcendental wisdom, is the mother of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, past and future. So they have to go into that wisdom, which is the essence of divine feminine. ये तो बहुत deep बात कह दी, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask divine feminine. How do you define it? How do you?
Well, that will be another talk, my dear. Time is up.
Yes, a message for everybody who's tuned in to the Positivity Project presents Rejuvenate. People from all over the world. Is there a story that you would like to tell from the life of Buddha, which will help us in our daily lives, from your life, anything, from Milarepa's life? Would you like to just tell us a last few bits?
Oh, just Milarepa! Oh my gosh! I mean, I'm just total fan. And I do teachings on Milarepa deep, his poems. It's just like it really. And Jesus Milarepa, he went through all that we are talking of suffering. Imagine what he went through. He, his mother was quite vindictive, and she was like, she wants to take revenge, and she followed his mother. And then in the end, he ended up, killing so many people. In those days in Tibet, there was, black magic, sorcery. And sometimes I feel all this, there's a kind of greed, now we have atom bombs and all of these things. But in those days, the magic was very tedious, very destructive forces. So he learned all of that and killed. And one fine day he says, oh my gosh, what have I done? Right. He feels so much repentance, remorse. He cannot sit still, goes up and down. And at that time he realized that, he need to go into search. Most of the gurus and masters, they went through suffering in search, not through pleasure. Buddha didn't have to go into suffering at all. Milarepa, of course, because Milarepa, he was, he had a big suffering, but Buddha came with pleasure. He was born with pleasure. Still, he has this, like deep seeker. He was a great seeker. And Milarepa, through that suffering, then he met his great master. And then great master was, Milarepa's master was very understanding, even though outwardly he looks really fierce, but inwardly, he was the most compassionate. And sometimes we need fierce gurus, and to transcend our negative karma, to cut through all that extra, veils. So in one lifetime, he got enlightened. Look at his poems. Milarepa says, I never read anything black and white. Everything is my life, is a teaching. So in that way, and I kind of belong to that kind of family. So if I'm saying something, it's due to my gurus, who are all great meditators. And I grew up in their lab. So I feel they just infuse me, unknowingly, and suddenly things just to come out.
So bless us today, because we don't have such great spiritual teachers and ancient wisdom. So is there parting words to our viewers, to all of us who are going to enjoy this conversation? Is there something that you would like to say to us?
Don't tell me that. Great masters are all available. You have to search for them. They're all there in the Himalayas, in India especially, but you have to, just automatically, there's too many airy-fairy spirituality. So you better be careful. But there are great masters, so you need to search the right master that suit you, and then progress on the path slowly but surely. So I feel that, we still have the wisdom, we still have the teachings. It's not faded, but you need to have the discriminative understanding of how to look for your guru that suit your personality. We are all different, no? Different medicine for different sickness.
That's
so if you have a cold and you take a medicine of a cancer, then you'll be a problem. So you see who your teachers are, and in India there's lots available. In the
That's
West,
true.
yeah, I went to some. I enjoy this kind of going into some kind of a things, the expo and things. Oh, very interesting spirituality. Somebody goes your head like that. Oh, I can heal you. So it's like going. I've never experienced that. It's quite entertaining, to see. Everyone is like, I'm a spiritual this and spiritual that. So there's too much airy fairy out there. But if you want to practice and transcend suffering, you have to have the authentic teaching so that you practice. We have to practice. We have to
Consistency.
untangle. When we have to untangle our habitual patterns, karmic forces, and it's not easy. But when we are able to look at all the obstacles, as I think Jonsei Khyentse Rinpoche wrote this beautiful book, is Poison is Medicine. Very beautiful, where you can look at all this poison as a medicine, and then you will transcend. But slowly but surely. Namaste.
Slowly but surely. Namaste. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Let's
much.
dedicate, okay? Gyawandi, Nyurdoda, Pendel Lamandu, Yunedoachi, Yamaliba, De Salam Guverso, Sonamdi, Tamjesi, Pomneveta, Nam Pams, Kigana Chimbalong to Vai, Sibeso, and Donam Dorsho, Kiwartam Bichu, and Nending, Tanjuchan Bisalam, Majimba, Parjetuchi, Likewat and Yamdo Kondo Peveta, she show. So I make aspiration. So all these difficulties that globally, we are facing, may it subside and make compassion and love radiate within our heart, and may we bring big changes in our inhibitions and on our world, so that our world become a better place and we can all enjoy each other.
Thank you. Thank you, Khandro-la.
Namaste.
Wish you all the best and see you
Thank
soon. Namaste.
Okay, yeah. I'm very happy to if I'm useful to you, I'm very happy to come in this kind of things and support your vision.
Thank you, Khandro-la. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
When I heard about the Positivity Project, it truly resonated with me, and especially in these current circumstances. And I was very keen to come on board and see what I could do to help. And now that it's come to fruition, I wish it the very best of luck and peace and positivity. And I hope it accomplishes what it's set out to do and spreads the word of peace.